Welcome to How Bizarre. How Bizarre. Welcome. In this episode, we'll be talking about the Mothman. So please get comfortable, and I hope you enjoy this episode on Mothman lore. What is Mothman, and what are some of the earliest sightings? The legend of Mothman, a mysterious winged humanoid, has its origins primarily in the United States, though similar sightings have been reported globally. The earliest known accounts largely stem from the 1960s, with sporadic reports occurring before that. We are going to start with the earliest Mothman sightings by geographical region and year, which will provide an in-depth look at the evolution of this cryptid legend. Let's take a look at the early Mothman sightings from across the globe. The early folkloric predecessors of Mothman, pre-1960s. Before the famous Mothman sightings of the 1960s, earlier accounts of winged humanoid creatures were recorded worldwide. While these stories may not directly relate to Mothman, they provide a historical context for winged cryptid reports. Mothman sightings in Europe during the late 18th to the early 20th century. United Kingdom, 1800s to 1900s. Reports of a flying humanoid figure, sometimes described as a demon or large bird-like creature, appeared in various regions of England and Scotland. The infamous Spring-Heeled Jack, 1837 to 1904, shares similarities with Mothman, particularly in its glowing red eyes, ability to leap great distances, and terrorizing of rural communities. Germany, World War I era, 1914 to 1918. Soldiers claim to have seen Der Flieger, the flyer, a winged entity resembling a man with glowing eyes. Some accounts came from German soldiers stationed in France. Mothman sightings in the United States during the late 19th to early 20th century. Iowa, 1903. A newspaper article from Van Meter, Iowa, described the Van Meter visitor, a giant winged creature with a beak-like mouth and glowing eyes, appearing for several nights before vanishing. West Virginia, 1920s to 1930s. Isolated reports of a large bat-like creature in the Appalachian Mountains emerged but were not widely documented. Let's dig deeper into the first modern Mothman sightings of the 1960s in the U.S. The modern legend of Mothman originated in the United States, primarily in West Virginia, where a wave of sightings captivated the region. West Virginia, 1966 to 1967. November 12, 1966, Clendenin, West Virginia. The first widely accepted Mothman sighting occurred when 5 gravediggers in Clendenin saw a large, winged humanoid with glowing red eyes flying over a cemetery. This sighting is often considered the first appearance of the creature in modern times. November 15, 1966, Point Pleasant, West Virginia. 2 young couples, Roger and Linda Scarberry and Steve and Mary Mallett, were driving near an abandoned TNT factory in Point Pleasant when they encountered a large, gray, winged creature with red eyes. They claimed it chased their car at speeds of over 100 miles per hour. November 16, 1966, Point Pleasant, West Virginia. More reports surfaced, including accounts from local firefighters and other residents who saw a large flying creature in the area. November 24, 1966, Point Pleasant, West Virginia. 4 people witnessed the creature flying over the TNT area, describing it as larger than a man, but bat-like. December 1966, Point Pleasant, West Virginia. Reports continued throughout December, with some people associating Mothman sightings with mysterious phone calls, strange men in black, and other paranormal occurrences. These sightings culminated in the tragic collapse of the Silver Bridge on December 15, 1967, which killed 46 people. Some believed Mothman was an omen warning of the disaster. Mothman sightings beyond Point Pleasant during the late 1960s to 1970s. After the initial wave of sightings in West Virginia, reports of similar creatures began emerging in other parts of the United States and beyond. Gallipolis, Ohio. In 1967, witnesses reported a large flying creature around the Ohio River across from Point Pleasant, particularly in the days leading up to the Silver Bridge collapse. Chicago, Illinois. In 1969, a few isolated reports of a flying humanoid were made, but they were not well documented at the time. Houston, Texas. In 1975, residents reported a humanoid with wings flying over the city, though descriptions varied. International sightings of Mothman during the 1970s to 1980s. As Mothman became famous in the United States, similar reports surfaced globally. Cornwall, England. In 1976, the owlman was reported in Monaghan, Cornwall. It resembled Mothman, with large wings, red eyes, and an ominous presence. In Argentina in the 1980s, reports of La Gargola, the gargoyle, described a large flying creature attacking livestock and frightening locals. Later sightings and ongoing reports, 1990s to present. Since the 1990s, Mothman reports have surfaced periodically, often coinciding with major disasters. Chicago, Illinois, 2011 to 2017. Dozens of people reported seeing a winged humanoid, sometimes near Lake Michigan. These sightings revived interest in Mothman and sparked new investigations. Chernobyl, Ukraine, 1986. Some claim a winged humanoid was seen near the Chernobyl nuclear power plant before the disaster, though this remains speculative. The earliest Mothman sightings primarily occurred in West Virginia during the mid-1960s, but the legend has roots in older folklore and has since expanded globally. The phenomenon remains a subject of cryptid investigations, with some interpreting Mothman as an omen of disaster and others considering it a misidentified bird or hoax. Whether real or legendary, Mothman continues to captivate enthusiasts worldwide. Now that we know a little more about where the Mothman has been sighted, let's learn more about what the cryptid looks like. Mothman is one of the most enigmatic cryptids in modern folklore, with its origins traced back to the mid-20th century in the United States. The creature's appearance is widely debated, with numerous eyewitness accounts describing it in varying levels of detail. While its exact nature remains mysterious, there are several core characteristics that consistently appear in reports. In this comprehensive summary, we will explore Mothman's appearance by analyzing its size, body shape, wings, eyes, movements, and other unique physical attributes. Additionally, we will compare it to similar cryptid and folkloric entities from around the world. Mothman is typically described as a humanoid creature with large wings, glowing red eyes, and an imposing presence. Most witnesses agree on the following features. Size ranges from 6 to 10 feet in height. Wingspan, estimated between 10 to 15 feet. Eyes, large, glowing red eyes. Body shape, generally humanoid, but sometimes described as bird-like or insectoid. Color, usually dark, often black or gray. Movement, both flying and walking, though flight is its most dramatic mode of movement. This general description is the basis for the legend of Mothman, but variations exist among different accounts. Mothman is most commonly reported to be between 6 and 8 feet tall, though some witnesses have claimed it is as large as 10 feet. Unlike most birds or known flying creatures, Mothman's height suggests it is much larger than any known species in the animal kingdom. Mothman is described as significantly taller than an average adult male, typically around 5 feet 9 inches. The largest birds, such as the Andean condor, wingspan approximately 10 feet, are not nearly as tall as Mothman has been described. Some witnesses claim Mothman appears to change size based on its posture or movement, perhaps suggesting an ability to crouch or extend its body. Mothman's wings are one of its most striking and defining characteristics. They are described as huge, bat like, or bird like, with a wingspan of 10 to 15 feet. The wings are usually depicted as similar to those of a bat, with no visible feathers. They are almost always black or dark gray. In some reports, witnesses claimed the wings are attached directly to the creature's back, while others suggest they extend from its arms or shoulders. Witnesses frequently describe Mothman as taking off in an unnatural way, sometimes rising vertically without flapping its wings. Some claim it makes a soft whooshing sound, while others report complete silence. Mothman is often reported as capable of keeping pace with cars, traveling at speeds exceeding 100 miles per hour. Mothman has a lot of distinctive features, but what is the most characteristic feature? Perhaps the most terrifying aspect of Mothman is its glowing red eyes. They are described as large and round, often covering much of its face, intensely luminous, even in total darkness, hypnotic or paralyzing to those who see them, possibly set deeper within the skull or protruding outward. Some accounts suggest the eyes only glow when light is reflected upon them, while others claim they glow independently. Many witnesses report an overwhelming sense of fear or dread after locking eyes with the creature, sometimes experiencing temporary paralysis or dizziness. Mothman's head is one of its most mysterious features. Some reports claim it lacks a distinct head, with the glowing red eyes appearing to be set into its chest or upper torso. Other descriptions include a small or absent neck, making the head appear sunken into the shoulders, a smooth, featureless face, sometimes with only the eyes visible, a more insectoid or owl like head shape in certain accounts, a lack of a visible mouth or nose. Ambiguity or inconsistency in the Mothman's physical appearance may suggest either misidentification, variations in the creature's posture, or differences in perception under stress. Mothman's body is often compared to that of a large humanoid, though it sometimes resembles a bird or insect in proportions. Arms. Some reports suggest that Mothman has human-like arms separate from its wings, while others claim the wings themselves function as arms. Legs. Most accounts describe long, muscular legs, often bent at strange angles, resembling those of a bird or large predator. Feet. Descriptions vary, with some reports stating that Mothman has clawed, talon-like feet, while others claim they were not visible at all. Most witnesses agree that Mothman's body is dark and smooth, though descriptions vary. Common descriptions include bat-like or leathery skin, thin, matted fur or feather-like texture, and a shifting, shadow-like body. What are some other notable features and behaviors of Mothman? The ominous presence and fear effect. Many witnesses describe a powerful, overwhelming sense of dread when encountering Mothman. This phenomenon is often accompanied by sudden anxiety or terror, a feeling of being watched, and difficulty breathing or a racing heartbeat. Other witnesses experience temporary paralysis or an inability to look away from its eyes. In addition, some witnesses reported ominous dreams or feelings of impending doom after sightings. Does Mothman have any sounds or vocalizations? Yes, but witness accounts describing sounds and vocalizations are scarce. While Mothman is typically reported as silent, there are a few cases where it has been associated with sounds. These sounds included a high-pitched screech, which has been compared to a woman screaming, low humming or mechanical buzzing, deep guttural growls, and the soft whooshing noise of the Mothman's wings in flight. What are some of the characteristics of Mothman's movement and speed? Mothman's movements are often described as unnatural or surreal, with key characteristics including a strange gliding motion when flying, rarely flapping its wings, rapid vertical takeoffs without an apparent jump, a smooth, almost mechanical walking motion, the ability to keep up with speeding cars at over 100 miles per hour. We've learned a lot about the key features of Mothman, but how does Mothman compare to other creatures? Mothman shares similarities with a number of known animals and mythological creatures. Cryptid and paranormal comparisons. The Jersey Devil, USA. Another winged cryptid with glowing red eyes. The Owlman, UK. A Mothman-like entity seen in Cornwall, England. La Gargola, Puerto Rico. A gargoyle-like being with wings. The Thunderbird, Native American folklore. A giant bird sometimes linked to supernatural events. What is Mothman often mistaken for? Barn owls or great horned owls are often misidentified as Mothman, especially the bird's large wings and glowing eyes at night. Sandhill cranes are often misidentified as Mothman. The sandhill crane is a large bird that can appear humanoid at a distance. Mothman is an imposing, winged humanoid figure with glowing red eyes, a tall and muscular frame, bat-like wings, and an eerie, silent flight pattern. The creature's fear-inducing presence, high-speed flight, and mysterious physical inconsistencies make it one of the most enigmatic cryptids ever recorded. Whether real, mythical, or misidentified, Mothman remains one of the most terrifying and fascinating creatures in modern folklore. And that's it for part 1 of Mothman. Stay tuned for part 2. Thanks for staying with me until the end. Thank you for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked this episode, then stay tuned because I've got a lot more upcoming episodes on topics including cryptozoology, folklore, ethnobotany, paranormal phenomena, and much more. If those topics sound interesting to you, then please consider subscribing. Until next time, my friends.